Thank you all. We have the session today to help you prepare for the exams in December. My name is Rachel Parry. I'm the team leader for assessment and compliance. And we also have Anna Howard, who's the head of qualifications and membership with us today. So the session's split into two sections. The first bit's the technical stuff that you'll need to know from Rogo ahead of the exams. And then the second section is a demonstration from Anna of Rogo. So let's get started. So to help us facilitate the session, we have blocked your cameras and microphones. You will, of course, be able to ask any questions in the Q&A box, which my colleagues will pick up throughout or at the end of each session. So in terms of the operating systems, Windows, you'll need Windows 7 or later, or if you've got a Mac, you'll need the Mavericks 10.9 or later. Please make sure you're using either Chrome or Edge as your browser, as Rogo won't work effectively in any other browser. Most modern laptops have a processor with a minimum of 2.0 gigahertz and a minimum speed of 5 megabytes per second is needed for Rogo to work effectively. If you're unsure if your laptop runs at this, you can run a speed test. You can find that one of the ones we suggest using is that www.speedtest.net, or you can put into Google broadband speed test and test that as well. With online exams, the most important thing is to have a strong, sustained connection. We strongly recommend using an Ethernet cable, which connects to your device to your router for a stronger, more reliable connection. These can be purchased from roughly £8 on Amazon. They're not expensive. Some exams run for up to 3 hours long, so having a strong connection for a long period is important. If your Wi-Fi is not stable, we highly recommend this. If you're at home taking the exam, remind others that you're taking an exam and for them to be mindful of using a device that may affect your bandwidth, such as downloading a film or a program or playing on games or a console, or if you have any other family members that might be on, for example, a Teams call. Ensure that your device is not due to a security update, as this may interrupt your exam. So the practice test site is the pink one. And as you can see there, that's the link you'll have. This is one that many of you will have already done testing already. And the live exam site is the purple one. So make sure that you are logging into the right site first things first. When you schedule the exam, technical test and specimen test, and also you take the live exam in that purple site. We've had some candidates searching for the exam bookings and technical tests in the practice site. Please make sure you log into the correct one, especially on your exam date. It's essential that you take your technical test in advance of your exam to check that you can share your screen, audio and camera working for invigilation purposes. Log into the exam site and you will see under assignments, you'll see the 3 technical tests. You don't need to do all 3 if you're successful with your first one. If the first one doesn't work, you also have 2 more attempts. If after this it's still experiencing difficulties, please do reach out to us and we can look into that for you. So firstly, when you're doing the technical test, you have to share your camera, and you'll see that as the screen comes up like that. Next, select entire screen and note the reminder that you are not allowed to use multiple screens during the technical test or on the same exam day. You can only have 1 screen active, not 2. Please put your head into the dotted area and take your photo as the images there show. And repeat the step with your ID. You do not need to show your actual ID for the purpose of the tech test, but you will need it on the day of the exam. Make sure you can see yourself and then click Done. If you've been successful with each of the steps, then click Yes and Finish. It's really important to undertake another test if you change or update your advice or you change where you are taking your exam. So make sure that you're doing it on the same device as you're going to do on the live exam and in the same location. Under the scheduling section, you will now see your exam listed. Click on Schedule Now button on the right. Again, a reminder that you use the live exam site, not the practice test site. Make sure you've selected your correct time zone. This will enable you to schedule your local time. So this is especially important for those that are overseas. Select your invigilation type, remote or local. Click on the date of the exam and the available time slots will appear. They'll appear in your local time zone as well as coordinated universal time. Local invigilation will only be available for students in pre-approved exam centres, so RATPs, or students approved via the reasonable adjustments and extenuating circumstances process. It was a policy decision from our regulator, the FRC. Please also be mindful that the deadline for reasonable adjustments and extenuating circumstances has now closed for December, and if you've been approved, you will have had that communicated to you. If you wish to amend your exam prior to the deadline of the 27th of November, again, using the option in scheduling, you can click on the update and repeat the steps used in the previous slide. A quick reminder about the specimen test, that this is within the live exam website, the purple one. Not only do you have the chance to answer the questions, but it will take as many times as you want to familiarise yourself with the system, so you can keep having a go at this and making sure you know how to navigate in the system. A quick note that after you take the specimen test for the first time, it will move from the courses section to the exercises section when you log in. As it states, please log in 15 minutes beforehand, before your live exam. You will not physically see your invigilator. You will receive instructions through the chat function, and you communicate with them via this chat function rather than using your microphone. Don't forget your ID. Sometimes you can be so focused on your exam that you may forget it, but it's really important that you have that. You don't want to fall at the first hurdle. Visit the bathroom beforehand. Answers will be saved every 30 seconds, so you will not lose your work if you do disconnect. There's no search in the internet during exams. There's no copying of questions. And of course, the use of AI is strictly forbidden. Exams are recorded, and so malpractice will be captured. There's, as you'll see in the table here, it gives a little bit of information as to what is and isn't allowed in your live exams. If you want to have a full extensive list, we do have the assessment regulations on our website under our policies page. This gives a really detailed list as to what you can and can't have in the exam, what you can and can't wear. And if you have any questions off the back of that, you can always get in touch with us by calling us on 0207 543 5600 or emailing us at studentsupport@sipper.org. So as you'll see here, the results can be accessed on my SIPA and Rogo on results day, and really good luck with your exam. So have we had any questions that haven't been answered, Anna?
No, Rachel, there's only one question that's come through, which is clarity around the pink and the purple site. So the pink site is for our practice questions. So if you have a course booking for tuition, you'll automatically get access to the practice site, and that practice site has got your syllabus tests, progress tests, mock tests on it. And then the purple site, you're given access to that when you create an exam booking, and that would have your specimen test, your technical tests, and then your live exam will be accessed through that site. So that's the difference between those two sites, and that's the only question. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to share my screen, and I'm sure my colleagues will let me know if that's not happened correctly. So as you can see here, this is our purple site. When you log in, this will be the screen that you will see. You won't see as much information on your screen as I've got on mine. I've got access to a million things that you won't have access to. And what you'll do is there'll be a button ready for you when you get to your scheduled start time that enables you to press start to start your exam. Please make sure on exam day that you access the exam. So you can see here that it all says exam on it, not your specimen test. So the exam and the specimen test may be in the same list, and we have had candidates that have done their specimen test during the exam time rather than the main exam. So please make sure before you press start that you are starting the correct exam and that it is the exam and not the specimen test. When you press start, you will see a screen very similar to this. This screen has got a lot of information on it that we would expect you to go through. So you will have an outline of your examination. It will remind you of the things that you're allowed in your exam. So 4 blank pieces of paper, a calculator that's not pre-programmable, and any advanced materials, a clean copy of any advanced materials that you may have. So that relates only to our DSDA exam and also our strategic case study exam. it goes through some additional instructions, and then it will highlight to you the different facilities that you've got access to within your exam. All of these are available to you in your practice tests, and they're also available in your specimen test. So hopefully when you get to this screen, this won't be the first time you've seen these. You would have familiarised yourselves with all of these different icons, and what facilities you've got within your exam prior to actually sitting. At the bottom, there will be a slightly longer statement than this, which is asking you to confirm that you will adhere to and have read the assessment regulated and associated policies. So please make sure in advance that you go to our website and you go to our policies and procedures page, and you familiarise yourselves with our assessment regulations, and also any associated policies. There is a new policy that's just been put on our website in relation to the use of AI technology and ChatGPT, and the fact that it will be considered academic misconduct. So that's an additional policy that we'd ask you to familiarise yourself with. When you're pressing start, you are confirming that you are familiar with those policies, and that you will abide by them during the examination. So you will then press start. Let me just go back. I logged into that a little bit earlier, which is why it's not working. Give me 1 second. When you press start, you will go straight into your first question, and you can see at the top of your screen, it will say what question you're on. It will say how many marks the question is worth. It will say how long you've got remaining in your exam. It will say how many questions you're expected to answer in your exam. And there's a button for you to progress to the next question at the top of the screen. You'll go through and answer, and you can see that this is a standard multiple choice style question. You can see that this is one of our 5-mark questions. So there may be some information, a little scenario that will relate to all of the questions that sit underneath that. It tells you that there's 5 marks. And then there may be some instructions that you'll see in italics. So here it's telling you that this particular paper has a formula and statistics table that you'll be able to find by pressing this exam exhibit button below. This button is there through the entirety of your exam. So it will be in the same place on every question in the bottom left-hand side of your screen at the bottom of each question. And this exams exhibit will stay with you for the entirety of the exam. So it's the same pop-up that you'll find in every single question. Please make sure that there are not more than 1 tab in this exhibit. Some of our exhibits have more than 1 tab, and you'll see that across the top if that's the case. So please make sure you're familiar with all of the information that's given to you in the exam to support you in attempting. There's also a calculator that you're able to use if you want to within your exam. So that's just there. You're also able to use that calculator on your desk. So you're allowed to have a calculator on your desk as well if that's your preference. There is a reading ruler that might help you if there's large amounts of text that you need to read, or if you're reading large complex financial statements to make sure you're reading across the lines correctly. There's a notepad that you'll be able to use to do your essay plans if you want to, or make any notes at the beginning of during your exam. That notepad will stay with you for the entirety of the exam. So if I move to question 2 and open up the notepad, you'll see the notes that I've already placed in there when I was on question 1. So it will stay with you completely. You're able to make that notepad bigger and smaller as you need to. And if you close it down, it will automatically save, and then you can pop it back up again when you need it. Similarly, we've got a spreadsheet working tool that you're able to make bigger and smaller. This spreadsheet working tool, it looks very similar to Excel, but it functions very similarly to Excel, but it is not an Excel spreadsheet. So we do advise, if you're going to use the spreadsheet within your exam, that you do have a look at it, make sure you're very, very familiar with how it operates and how you're going to get it to work. So there are things here on being able to find things like decreasing decimals, using percentages, wrapping text and things like that if you need to. There are certain formulas available to you that you might want to familiarise yourself with and make sure you understand exactly what's there. There's different ways in which you can sort your data and things like that. As I said, it looks very, very similar to Excel, but it isn't Excel. So please make sure that you know how to use it. You can use formulas in the spreadsheet on here, so that's able for you to be able to use. And then similarly, you can close it down, it auto saves, and then you can pop it back up again. You can flag your questions. So if you were unsure about the answer to a question and you wanted to come back to it, you can flag it, and you can also unflag it. And then when you press that navigation button, this navigation button enables you to navigate throughout the paper. So if you wanted to start your exam on the 15-mark questions, you'd be able to press that navigation button, click on question 9, and it would take you straight to question 9. So if you wanted to do the paper in a different order to the one presented to you, that navigation button will easily help you. You can see there that I've moved to question 9. You can see that my exam level exhibit is still there. So my formula tables are still there. You can see what question you're on, how many marks, how long you've got left in the exam. If I click on my notepad, you can see the notes I made earlier are still there. And if I click on my spreadsheet, you can see that the notes I made on the spreadsheet are also still there. On the spreadsheet, you can only have one tab. The functionality does not exist for you to have more than one tab. And if you use your spreadsheet working tool, you do need to make sure that all of the information within it is copied and pasted into your answer box. Neither the notepad or the spreadsheet working tool will be marked during your exam. So please make sure that any of your workings that you want us to mark are copied from your spreadsheet and they're placed in your answer box. When you're trying to paste into your answer box, please make sure you are pasting into the actual answer box itself. We had some candidates last time trying to paste down here in this empty space, and they couldn't work out why it wouldn't work. And it's because they weren't actually in the answer box. So if I press my navigation, you can see where I flagged that question earlier for me to go back to. You can see that we've got different question types here. So this is asking you to select more than one answer. So be careful with the instructions to read them carefully. You can see that we've got questions that look very similar to this, where you're asked to select across columns and rows. You can see different question types appearing together within the question. So like you've got here, so we've got one of these columns and row questions, and then you've got a multiple choice question here that you're being asked to answer. You can see that I can press here and I've always got my question level exhibit. My notepad has still got my notes in it. My spreadsheet's still got my notes in it. And if I navigate, you can see what questions you flagged. So you're able to move around the paper quite easily and quickly. A slightly different question type might be one like this. So if you're asked to prepare comprehensive financial statements, you would get the comprehensive financial statements would be pasted for you in under the requirements section. So this will enable you to copy and paste into your spreadsheet working tool if you needed to. So you're able to go in, add your template in there that's given to you, start putting your answers in to the spreadsheet, and then as you've put your answers in, you're able to then copy and paste this back into your answer box. Now you'll notice there that I've made a mistake. 1000 plus 1000 doesn't equal 3000, it actually equals 2000. Hopefully you spotted that. If that is the case, and this is why we're very clear that we want you to put your workings into your answers. So if I just had 3000 there as my answer, I am going to have scored 0 marks. Okay, because the answer is not 3000, it's 2000. However, if you'd had in your workings 1000 plus 1000 and you'd added that up incorrectly and got 3000, you might get 1 of 2 marks when marking your exam. So please be careful to make sure that you show your workings either through this way, or you can use the F functions to show your formulas, and then you can copy and paste your formulas into your answer box. So I'm able to, using the keyboard shortcuts of Control C and Control V, I'm able to copy that straight into my answer so that it's ready there for marking. So as I've said, if you leave it in here and you don't put it into your answer, it will not get marked. So please make sure you copy everything into your answer box. Where we've got very long questions, and this is where students struggled last time, they were trying to copy in this blank area here, and obviously the answer box is up here, so you're not able to do that. We have introduced for the December exams a scroll bar. So there'll be a scroll bar here on the left hand, so between the two panes. So you're able to scroll on the left hand side, and it will keep this right hand side exactly where it is. You'll notice that we do put instructions here for you. So we're explaining to you how to use the different things, how to copy and paste from the question into your spreadsheet working tool, how to use the different shortcuts, the Control C and the Control V. But we do recommend that you do a lot of practice in the system, on the specimen paper, or through your practice questions prior to the exam, so you're really familiar with how everything works. This question also has what is called a question level exhibit. So on this question here, you've got your paper level exhibit, that's down in the bottom left-hand corner. If you've got a pop-up here in the top left-hand corner rather than at the bottom, that would be a question level exhibit. This question level exhibit relates just to this question. So you can see here in the instructions, it's telling you that the exhibit covers the necessary financial and business context to answer the question. Please refer to the question level exhibit above, and then you've got your requirement. So you would pop that up, and you've got here your trial balance, and you've got any notes that you would need to use to do the adjustments to meet the requirements of creating your comprehensive income statement as requested. You are able to copy and paste from the exhibits into your spreadsheet working tool, but however, it doesn't always, sorry, I didn't copy then, it doesn't always paste correctly. So what happens is sometimes it would paste everything into one answer box. So it won't separate the rows and the columns when you're pasting into Excel from this PDF. So please be careful of that and make sure you're really clear on what you're using to copy and paste. This is why we've put in the question stem itself the comprehensive income statement for you to be able to copy into your spreadsheet tool. Although you would find that in the paper level exhibit, we've also put it for you there in the question for you to copy and paste it into either the answer box or into the spreadsheet working tool. You'll notice as well that there are other functionalities in your answer box that you're able to use. So if you wanted to, you would be able to insert a table. So rather than using the spreadsheet, you're able to insert a table if that would be your preference. You're able to add bullet points to things if you needed to. Or numbered bullet points. You can format things, so you can make things bold and you can make things underlined if you needed to as well. So similarly with the spreadsheet working tool, please do familiarise yourselves with the functionality that you've got available to you in your answer box to ensure that you're making full use of that, and that you're not, you don't become unstuck in the exam because you're not really clear on what you've got. The other thing that you've got available in the questions is you've got the ability to highlight parts of the question. So if I highlight my text and I press that button up there, then it would highlight for you. You've also got functionality to strike things through. So if you've dealt with a piece of information and you wanted to strike it through, then you've got the strike off button there. Please be careful with this little button at the end. It's the rubber button. If you press that, it clears all of your highlights and strike offs. So obviously you only want to do that when you've either completed the question or if you've made an error with your highlighting. But if you do press it, it will clear everything that you've highlighted and everything that you've put a strike through on. So I think that's everything that I wanted to go through. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And what I'll do is I'll just look at any outstanding question. Does each question page save its own spreadsheet? No. So the spreadsheet and the note functionality stays with you for the entirety of the paper. So anything you type in the spreadsheet or the notepad on question 1, if you open it up on question 10, it will still remain there and you can see everything. You don't need to label each number as long as your workings are really clear. So just make sure that your workings are clear during the exam, so that if you have made an error because you're under pressure and you've added something up incorrectly or multiplied something when you meant to take it away in your formula, that we can see what you intended to do, and that will enable us to give you some of the marks if we're not able to give you all of the marks. You are allowed a scientific calculator in the exam, so you can take that in with you and have that on your desk. You just need to make sure that it's not pre-programmable. You're not allowed a pre-programmable calculator in the exam, so it just needs to be a standard scientific calculator. Okay, I can't see any further questions coming up into the Q&A box. And as I've said it, one's just popped in, as another one has. The logins for Rogo should be the same between the practice and the test site, but please do check that. So log in on both sites and make sure that you're able to access it. The mock exam is run by our training provider, CETC. So the mock exam is available for you to sit on Rogo, but for them to mark it, you do need to sit it on Brightspace. So my recommendation is, as part of your practice, you sit it on Brightspace and meet the deadlines for CETC so that they can mark it, but then you also attempt it on Rogo to practice how you'd answer the how you practice answering the question on the platform itself. The answer box is the same in all of the exams where you've got essay style questions and you haven't got drop down style questions. And obviously the answer box is just for that question that you're on. So the notepad and the spreadsheet does stay with you for the entirety of the exam, but the answer box that you're answering in will be separate. You will sit your exam on Rogo on the purple site. You can sit your mock exam on Rogo, but for CETC purposes, for it to be marked and for you to get feedback, it needs to be sat on Brightspace. Please speak to your training provider about where's best to sit your mock exam. Your ID needs to be photographic ID. So you can use a staff ID as long as it's got your photograph on it. You can use your Sit for Student ID, but ideally it would be a driving license or a passport, something like that that's validated. The tools, the notepad tool and the spreadsheet tool, keeps the same information across the different questions. So if I open it up on question 1 and add some notes, when I open up question 10, then you will also see the same notes that you wrote when you were writing on question 1. Brightspace is for those of you that are taught by CETC, our internal training provider. If you're not taught by CETC, then you won't understand what our LMS Brightspace is. If you are taught by CETC, then Brightspace will be familiar to you and you'll understand what I'm talking about in regards to doing your mock exams. Okay. I've got no further open questions, so I will just give it a minute and see if anybody else has got any further questions. And if they haven't, I will bring the session to an end. Brightspace is for your training provider. So please speak to CTC about what Brightspace is used for. It's where you'll get your learning materials, your workbooks, and it's where you will get some of your practice tests, but you're also able to sit your practice tests on our Rogo site. Okay, So I am going to thank everybody for attending this morning. The team and myself have answered all of the questions. Thank you, Rachel, for doing the start at the beginning. That was really helpful. If you've got any further queries or questions, then you can email customer service, and they will speak to myself or my team to respond to any queries or questions that you might have. So I'll ask everybody to start logging off now, and thank you very much for joining today.